As the stars begin to speckle the velvet night, imagine yourself lying beneath an ancient olive tree, its gnarled branches swaying gently in the warm Mediterranean breeze. The air hums with whispers of gods and heroes, their tales woven into the very fabric of the cosmos. Tonight, we embark on a journey through the ethereal realm of Greek mythology, a world where titans clash, mortals dare to dream, and the divine casts its shadow over every hill and shore. This is not just a recounting of facts, but a tapestry of stories, told with the reverence of a bard who has wandered the marble halls of Athens and stood in the shadow of Mount Olympus. Let these tales cradle you into a restful slumber, as the soothing cadence of history wraps around you like a soft blanket. Greek mythology is more than a collection of stories. It is the heartbeat of a civilization that shaped art, philosophy, and the human imagination. From the primordial chaos that birthed the first gods to the heroic deeds of mortals like Odysseus and Heracles, these myths are a window into the soul of ancient Greece. They speak of creation, betrayal, love, and sacrifice, timeless themes that resonate even as you drift toward sleep. This video is crafted to guide you gently into the arms of Morpheus, the god of dreams, with a narrative that flows like a tranquil river through the ages. Before we begin, I'd love to connect with you, my fellow traveler through time. From where are you watching this history unfold? Is it a quiet evening in a bustling city, or perhaps a serene midnight in a far-off village? What time is it there, and what brings you to this moment of calm? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's create a community of dreamers and storytellers. If you find peace in these tales, consider subscribing and tapping the bell icon so you never miss a journey into the past. Your support keeps this channel alive, bringing more stories to light your nights. Hello, my name is Sherry, and welcome to my channel. So let's begin. Picture a world before the world, a vast, unending emptiness where neither light nor shadow dared to tread. This was chaos, the primordial void, a formless expanse that held no shape, no time, no breath. In the quiet of your room, as the night wraps around you, imagine this nothingness stretching infinitely, a silent abyss where even dreams could not yet take root. Yet within this vast emptiness, the seeds of all creation stirred, waiting for their moment to unfurl. This is where our story begins, in the heart of chaos, where the universe itself was but a whisper, yearning to be born. In the ancient Greek imagination, chaos was not merely absence but a presence, an enigma that pulsed with potential. The poets, those keepers of sacred lore, spoke of it as the first state of existence, a boundless chasm from which all things would spring. Hesiod, the bard whose verses echoed through the olive groves of Boeotia, described chaos as the genesis of being, a yawning void that held the promise of gods and mortals alike. As you lie there, letting the day's cares slip away, imagine the weight of that emptiness, heavy with the weight of what was to come. It is a stillness that feels alive, a silence that hums with the anticipation of creation. From this formless void, the first beings emerged, as if drawn forth by an unseen hand. First came Gaia, the earth herself, her form vast and verdant, her body a tapestry of mountains and valleys, rivers and plains. She was the mother of all, her embrace wide enough to cradle the cosmos. Can you see her in your mind's eye? Her slopes dusted with the first dew, her forests whispering secrets to the stars. Gaia was not alone. From chaos also came Tartarus, the deep abyss, a realm so far beneath the earth that even the gods shuddered at its name. It was a place of shadow and confinement, where the wicked would one day find their reckoning. And then there was Erebus, the personification of darkness, his cloak draping the world in mystery, and Nyx, the night, her presence as soft and enveloping as the darkness now surrounding you. These primordial deities were not like the gods we imagine today, with their gleaming temples and golden thrones. They were vast, elemental forces, their forms more concept than flesh. Nyx, with her star-strewn veil, gave birth to the dreams that dance through your mind as you drift toward sleep. Erebus, her consort, wove shadows that soften the edges of the world. Together, they birthed a host of children, day, air, and others, each adding a thread to the tapestry of existence. But it was Gaia who would become the cornerstone of the myths to come, her fertile heart giving rise to the next chapter of the divine saga. As Gaia stretched her limbs across the cosmos, she birthed Uranus, the sky, whose dome of azure arched over her like a lover's embrace. Their union was one of cosmic harmony, a dance of earth and heaven that filled the world with life. From their love came the Titans, mighty beings whose power rivaled the stars. Cronus, with his unyielding strength, Rhea, the nurturing mother, Oceanus, whose rivers encircled the world, and others, each a force of nature in their own right. These were the first gods, their names whispered in awe by mortals who would later walk the earth. But even in this dawn of creation, there was tension, a flicker of discord that would soon ignite a cosmic struggle. Imagine yourself standing on the edge of Gaia's vast plains, the sky above you shimmering with the presence of Uranus. The air is warm, fragrant with the scent of earth and possibility. Yet beneath this beauty lies a restlessness, a stirring of forces too great to remain in balance. Uranus, jealous of his children, sought to confine them, pressing them back into Gaia's womb. Can you feel the earth tremble beneath your feet, her anguish rising like a tide? Gaia, the mother who gave all, could not bear this betrayal. In her heart, a plan took shape, one that would shift the heavens themselves and set the stage for a war that would echo through the ages. As you let these images linger, consider the weight of beginnings. The Greeks believed that even the gods were born of struggle, that creation itself was a battle against the void. Chaos, Gaia, Uranus. Their story is not just a myth but a reflection of the human soul, forever reaching for order in the face of nothingness. What must it have been like to stand at the dawn of time, to witness the first stirrings of a world that would one day hold heroes, poets, and dreamers? As the night deepens around you, let this question cradle you, drawing you closer to the edge of sleep. But the story does not end here. Gaia's pain, Uranus's pride, these are but the opening notes of a symphony that will unfold across the cosmos. What happens when a mother's love turns to defiance, and the heavens themselves are challenged? The answer lies just beyond the horizon, where the Titans rise, and a war of gods begins to brew. Close your eyes, and let the whispers of this ancient world carry you forward, into the next chapter of our tale. As the night settles deeper around you, imagine the world still young, its edges soft and undefined, like a dream half-remembered. The primordial void of chaos has receded, giving way to Gaia, the earth, her form a living canvas of emerald forests and shimmering seas. Above her arches Uranus, the sky, his celestial dome aglow with the first stars, casting a gentle light over the cradle of creation. Together, they are the parents of all that is to come, their union a cosmic dance that breathes life into the silence. But within this harmony, a new generation stirs, beings of immense power, born to shape the world and challenge the heavens. These are the Titans, the first gods, whose names would echo through the ages like thunder rolling across the hills. In the ancient tales, whispered by poets in the shadow of sacred groves, Gaia and Uranus gave birth to 12 mighty Titans, each a force of nature, a spark of divinity clothed in strength and majesty. There was Oceanus, whose endless rivers encircled the earth, his waters murmuring secrets to the shores. Tethys, his consort, nurtured the springs and streams, her laughter like the ripple of a brook. Hyperion, the radiant, bore the light of the sun, his gaze warming the world below. Theia, his shining partner, gifted the earth with the gleam of precious metals. Coeus, the inquisitive, held the wisdom of the stars, while Phoebe, his luminous mate, cradled the moon's silver glow. Creus, the steadfast, anchored the constellations, and Mnemosyne, the mother of memory, wove the threads of time itself. Iapetus, the progenitor of mortals, stood tall with purpose, and Themis, the embodiment of divine law, balanced the scales of justice. Rhea, the nurturing mother, and Cronus, the ambitious, completed their number, their presence a promise of both creation and conflict. Picture them now, these Titans, striding across Gaia's vast plains, their forms towering like mountains, their voices resonating like the wind through ancient oaks. They were not mere deities but the very forces that shaped the world, its rivers, its light, its order. As you lie there, wrapped in the quiet of the night, imagine their footsteps shaking the earth, their laughter mingling with the rustle of leaves. The Greeks believed these beings were the architects of existence, their power so vast it could mold the cosmos itself. Yet, even in their grandeur, there was a shadow, a tension born of their father's pride and their mother's growing unease. Uranus, the sky, gazed upon his children with a mixture of awe and fear. Their strength rivaled his own, their potential a threat to his dominion. In his jealousy, he committed a terrible act, one that would sunder the harmony of creation. He cast his children, the Titans, and their siblings, the one-eyed Cyclopes and the hundred-handed Hecatoncheires, into the depths of Gaia's womb, imprisoning them in the dark caverns of Tartarus. Can you feel the earth's shudder, her anguish rising like a tide? Gaia, the mother who had given all, could not bear to see her children confined, their light smothered by their father's cruelty. Her heart, vast as the world itself, burned with a quiet fury, a resolve that would reshape the heavens. In the stillness of her pain, Gaia devised a plan. She crafted a sickle of adamant, its edge sharp enough to cut through the fabric of the sky. She called to her children, her voice a whisper in the depths, pleading for one among them to rise against their father. The Titans, bound in darkness, hesitated, their hearts torn between loyalty and liberation. All but one. Cronus, the youngest, bold and unyielding, stepped forward, his eyes gleaming with ambition. He took the sickle in hand, its weight a promise of change, and vowed to free his siblings and challenge the sky itself. Imagine the moment, the air thick with anticipation, the earth holding its breath as Cronus prepared to strike. As you drift closer to sleep, let the image linger. A world on the cusp of upheaval, a mother's love pitted against a father's pride. The Titans, born of earth and sky, were not just gods, but symbols of the forces that shape our lives: creation, ambition, betrayal. The Greeks told these stories to make sense of a world both beautiful and cruel, to find meaning in the clash of powers greater than themselves. What must it have been like for Cronus, standing at the edge of destiny, the sickle gleaming in his hand? What courage, or perhaps what hunger, drove him to challenge the very sky? The tale pauses here, but the tension does not. Gaia's plan is set, Cronus's resolve hardened, and the heavens await their reckoning. What happens when a son turns against his father, and the earth herself becomes a conspirator? The answer lies in the clash to come, a war that will shake the foundations of the cosmos and birth a new order. Let these questions cradle you as the night deepens, drawing you gently toward the next chapter of our story. As the night wraps you in its gentle embrace, imagine a world trembling on the edge of upheaval. The earth, Gaia, pulses with quiet fury, her heart heavy with the imprisonment of her children. Above, Uranus, the sky, looms unyielding, his starry dome a silent witness to the betrayal below. In the shadows of Tartarus, Cronus, the youngest Titan, clutches the adamant sickle, his resolve as sharp as its edge. The air is thick with the weight of destiny, the cosmos holding its breath as a son prepares to challenge his father. This is the prelude to the Titanomachy, the great war of gods, a clash that would sunder the heavens and reshape the world. As you lie there, letting the day's cares fade, let the echoes of this ancient struggle draw you deeper into the story, like a river carrying you toward dreams. The Greeks, in their firelit gatherings, told of this war as the defining moment of the cosmos, a battle that forged the divine order we now know. Cronus, driven by his mother's plea and his own ambition, rose against Uranus. In a single, fateful stroke, he wielded the sickle, severing his father's dominion and casting him from power. The sky bled, its essence falling to earth, giving birth to new beings. The vengeful Furies, the towering giants, and Aphrodite, born from sea foam, her beauty a strange counterpoint to the violence of her origin. Can you picture it? The heavens reeling, the earth trembling, as Gaia's children emerged from their prison, their eyes blazing with newfound freedom. But freedom came at a cost. Cronus, now ruler of the cosmos, ascended as the king of the Titans, his sickle a symbol of his triumph. Yet the seeds of discord were sown. The Cyclopes and Hecatoncheires, those monstrous siblings, remained confined in Tartarus, for Cronus, wary of their power, refused to release them. Gaia's heart, though relieved of one tyrant, grew heavy once more. Her son, whom she had raised to champion her cause, now mirrored his father's jealousy. The cycle of betrayal, it seemed, was not so easily broken. As you breathe slowly, imagine the earth's sigh, her ancient groves whispering of a mother's hope and a son's ambition, forever entwined. Into this fragile reign came a prophecy, one that chilled even the mighty Cronus. An oracle, its voice like the rustle of leaves in a sacred grove, foretold that he, too, would be overthrown by his child. Haunted by this shadow, Cronus turned to a desperate act. Each child born to his wife, Rhea, he devoured, swallowing them whole to defy fate. Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, Poseidon, one by one they vanished into his maw, their divine light snuffed out before it could shine. Rhea, the nurturing mother, bore this grief in silence, her heart breaking with each loss. Can you feel her anguish, a mother's love twisted by fear and betrayal? The night around you seems to echo her sorrow, its quiet depth a mirror to her pain. But Rhea, like Gaia before her, was not one to yield. When her sixth child, Zeus, was born, she hid him in a cave on the island of Crete, cradled by the rugged peaks of Mount Ida. In his place, she wrapped a stone in swaddling cloth and offered it to Cronus, who swallowed it without question. Picture the scene. Rhea, her hands trembling but her resolve firm, standing beneath the starlit sky, her son safe in the arms of nymphs and the wild she-goat Amalthea. The earth itself seemed to conspire in her favor, its caves and groves shielding the young god who would one day challenge the heavens. Zeus grew in secret, his strength nurtured by the rugged beauty of Crete. When he came of age, he emerged, a storm brewing in his eyes. With the help of Gaia and the Titaness Medes, he tricked Cronus into drinking a potion that forced him to regurgitate his siblings. One by one, Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon emerged, their divine forms radiant with purpose. United, they declared war on Cronus and the Titans, their resolve a fire that would consume the old order. Imagine the moment, the earth shaking, the skies darkening as the Olympians, young and fierce, stood against their ancient kin. The Titanomachy had begun. The war raged for 10 years, a cosmic struggle that tore at the fabric of the world. Mountains crumbled, seas roared, and the heavens themselves seemed to fracture. Zeus, wielding thunderbolts forged by the Cyclopes, now freed from Tartarus, led his siblings with unrelenting fury. The Hecatonchires, with their 100 hands, hurled boulders like a storm of stone, while the Titans, vast and unyielding, fought to preserve their reign. Oceanus and Tethys, torn by loyalty, stood apart, their rivers flowing in silent witness. Can you hear the clash? The thunder rolling, the earth groaning as gods battled for supremacy. As the war reached its climax, Zeus unleashed his full might, his lightning searing the heavens. The Titans, overwhelmed, fell one by one, their power no match for the new god's fury. Cronus, the sickle wielder, was cast into Tartarus. His reign ended as swiftly as it had begun. The Olympians stood victorious, their dominion secured. But at what cost? The world, scarred by war, bore the marks of divine strife, and Gaia, ever watchful, mourned the wounds of her children. As you drift closer to sleep, let the echoes of this war linger. The Titanomachy was not just a battle of gods, but a story of cycles, creation, betrayal, and renewal. The Greeks told it to remind us that even the mightiest can fall, that power is fleeting in the face of fate. What must it have been like for Zeus, standing atop the ruins of his father's reign, knowing the weight of his own destiny? The night holds these questions, its silence a canvas for the next chapter. What happens when the Olympians, now rulers, turn their gaze to a new world? Let the story carry you forward, into the rise of the gods who would shape the heavens. The night enfolds you, its quiet depths a canvas for dreams yet to come. The echoes of the Titanomachy have faded, the earth settling into a fragile peace beneath a sky newly claimed. The Titans, once lords of the cosmos, now languish in the shadowed depths of Tartarus, their power broken by the will of a new generation. At the heart of this reborn world stands Zeus, his thunderbolt still warm from battle, his gaze sweeping across a universe ripe for order. The Olympians, radiant and fierce, have ascended as the new rulers. Their home the celestial peak of Mount Olympus, where clouds part to reveal a divine citadel gleaming with eternal light. As you lie there, the softness of the night cradling you, let the grandeur of this new era unfold, drawing you into a story of gods, their triumphs, and the delicate dance of power that binds them. Imagine Mount Olympus rising before you, its slopes draped in mist, its summit piercing the heavens like a beacon. Here, the Olympians gather, their forms as vivid as the stars that crown their domain. Zeus, king of the gods, presides with a presence that commands both awe and reverence, his eyes like storms that see all sky, earth, and the hearts of those below. Beside him stands Hera, his queen, her beauty regal, her gaze sharp with pride and the weight of loyalty. Poseidon, lord of the seas, carries the roar of waves in his voice, his trident a symbol of dominion over the restless deep. Hades, somber and resolute, rules the underworld, his realm a shadow cast by the brilliance above. Demeter, with her golden sheaves, nurtures the earth's bounty, while Hestia, gentle and steadfast, guards the hearth, her warmth the heart of every home. The pantheon is rich with divine splendor. Athena, born from Zeus's brow, strides forth with wisdom and courage, her owl-eyed gaze piercing the veil of ignorance. Apollo, radiant and golden, strums his lyre, his music weaving prophecy and healing into the world. Artemis, his twin, roams the wilds, her bow drawn taut, protector of the hunt and the untamed. Ares, fierce and unyielding, revels in the clash of war, his spear ever ready. Aphrodite, born of sea foam, glides with a beauty that stirs both gods and mortals, her laughter a melody of desire. Hermes, swift and cunning, dances between worlds, his winged sandals carrying messages and mischief alike. Hephaestus, the smith, forges wonders in his volcanic workshop, his hands scarred but steady. And Dionysus, the youngest, brings the ecstasy of wine and revelry, his eyes alight with wild joy. Picture their divine assembly, their voices echoing through marble halls, their laughter mingling with the wind that sweeps Olympus's peaks. The Greeks saw their gods not as distant overlords, but as vibrant beings, their passions and flaws as human as the mortals who worshipped them. They were the forces behind every storm, every harvest, every heartbeat. As you breathe slowly, sinking deeper into the night, imagine standing at the base of Olympus, its grandeur towering above. The air is crisp, scented with pine and the faint sweetness of ambrosia, the gods' presence a hum in the ether. This was the new order, a pantheon forged in the fires of war, bound by kinship and rivalry, their rule a delicate balance of power and pride. Yet, even as the Olympians claimed their thrones, the world below stirred with new possibilities. The earth, scarred by the titanomachy, yearned for life, for beings to walk its plains and honor its gods. Zeus, ever the architect, decreed that humanity should rise, a race to reflect the gods' glory and offer worship in return. But who would shape these mortals, and what spark would give them life? The task fell to Prometheus, a titan who had sided with Zeus in the war, his heart alight with a vision for a new kind of being. Can you see him, standing on a windswept cliff, his hands molding clay into forms that would one day think, love, and dream? His act of creation was a spark of defiance, a gesture that would test the boundaries of divine will. The Olympians, though united, were not without their tensions. Hera's jealousy simmered, her eyes ever watchful of Zeus's wandering gaze. Ares's temper flared, his love of conflict a spark that could ignite discord. Hades, isolated in his shadowed realm, harbored a quiet resentment for the brightness above. Even Zeus, for all his might, ruled a family as complex as the mortals they would soon oversee. The Greeks told these stories to mirror their own lives, families bound by love yet torn by rivalry, power balanced by fragility. As you lie there, the night soft around you, imagine the Olympians' council, their voices rising and falling like a tide, shaping a world still raw from creation. This new order was not just a shift in power, but a reweaving of the cosmos itself. The Olympians established their domains, their influence stretching from the heavens to the depths. Apollo's sun rose each morning, Artemis's moon silvered the night, and Poseidon's waves carved the shores. Yet, beneath this divine harmony lay a question. How would the gods' rule shape the world below, and what role would mortals play in their grand design? Prometheus, with his clay figures, stood ready to answer, his actions a bridge between the divine and the human. As you drift closer to sleep, let the image of Olympus linger, its peaks aglow, its gods both radiant and flawed. The Greeks believed their deities were not perfect, but alive, their stories a reflection of the human heart's triumphs and struggles. What must it have been like to stand in the shadow of these gods, to feel their gaze upon a world still forming? The night holds these questions, its silence a canvas for the next chapter. What happens when Prometheus's creations take their first breath, and the gods confront the spark of humanity? Let the story carry you forward, into the birth of mankind and the trials that await. As the night wraps you in its velvet stillness, the world of the gods shimmers in your mind's eye. Mount Olympus stands tall, its peaks aglow with the divine light of the Olympians, their rule now firm over a cosmos shaped by their victory. Zeus, king of the gods, gazes down from his throne, his thoughts turning to the earth below, a world of rivers, forests, and winds, yet empty of voices to sing the gods' praises. The time has come for a new creation, a race to walk Gaia's plains and reflect the divine in their fleeting lives. This is the story of humanity's birth, a tale woven from clay, fire, and defiance, a moment when the gods will met the spark of something new. As you lie there, the quiet of the night folding around you, let this ancient narrative carry you deeper, its gentle rhythm a lullaby for your dreams. In the Greek imagination, the creation of humanity was no mere act of divine whim, but a story of purpose and rebellion. The task fell to Prometheus, the titan who had sided with Zeus in the Titanomachy, his heart alight with a vision beyond the gods' decree. Picture him now, standing on a windswept hill, the earth beneath his feet rich with possibility. In his hands he gathers clay, soft and cool, molding it with care into figures that mirror the god's own form. His fingers shape limbs, faces, hearts, each a vessel for life yet to be kindled. Can you see them, these clay figures, lying silent under the starlit sky, their forms waiting for the breath of existence? Prometheus, whose name means forethought, saw in them not just subjects for the gods but beings capable of dreams, love, and defiance. But clay alone could not spark life. Prometheus, ever bold, turned his gaze to the heavens, where the sun, Hyperion's legacy, burned with divine fire. In a daring act, he ascended to the celestial realm, stealing a spark from the sun's chariot, its flame a forbidden gift. With this fire, he returned to his creations, touching each clay figure with its warmth. The spark caught, and humanity awoke, eyes blinking against the dawn, hearts beating with the rhythm of life. Imagine that moment. The first humans stirring, their voices rising in wonder, their feet treading the earth for the first time. The Greeks believed fire was more than light or heat. It was the essence of creativity, the divine ember that set mortals apart. Zeus, from his Olympian throne, watched this act with a storm brewing in his eyes. Fire was the god's domain, a power not meant for mortals. Prometheus's gift was an act of defiance, a challenge to the divine order. Yet for a time, Zeus held his wrath, observing these new creatures as they learned to build, to dream, to offer sacrifices to the gods. The first humans, simple and awestruck, crafted altars of stone, their offerings rising as smoke to the heavens. But their fire-lit lives stirred unease among the gods. Were these mortals too close to divine, their ambitions a shadow of Prometheus's own? As you breathe slowly, sinking into the night, imagine the tension in the air. A creator's pride pitted against a king's authority, the earth alive with the footsteps of a new race. Prometheus, ever watchful, guided his creations, teaching them to harness fire, to forge tools, to weave stories under the stars. The Greeks saw him as a champion, a figure who dared to bridge the mortal and divine. Yet his actions sowed seeds of conflict. Zeus, whose rule depended on balance, demanded that mortals honor the gods with sacrifices, their offerings a reminder of divine supremacy. In one tale, Prometheus tricked Zeus, dividing an ox into two portions, one of fat and bones, the other of meat, and offering Zeus the choice. Zeus, perhaps knowingly, chose the bones, establishing that mortals would keep the nourishment while the gods received the smoke of burned offerings. This act, though clever, deepened the rift between Prometheus and the king of the gods. Can you feel the weight of this moment, the delicate balance of creation teetering on the edge? The earth, now alive with human voices, hummed with possibility, but also with danger. Prometheus's love for his creations was a fire that burned too brightly, one that could not go unpunished. Zeus, whose thunderbolts had toppled titans, would not let this defiance stand. The stage was set for a reckoning, a clash between the titan who dreamed and the god who ruled. As you lie there, the night soft around you, imagine Prometheus standing defiant, his creations thriving below, unaware of the storm gathering above. The Greeks told this story to reflect on their own nature, born of earth, touched by fire, forever caught between humility and hubris. Humanity, in their eyes, was both a gift and a challenge, a race that mirrored the gods' grandeur yet bore the fragility of clay. What must it have been like for those first mortals, gazing at the heavens, feeling the warmth of fire, yet sensing the gods' watchful eyes? The night holds these questions, its silence a canvas for the next chapter. What happens when Prometheus's defiance draws Zeus's wrath, and a new figure, Pandora, enters the tale? Let the story carry you forward, into a world where hope and sorrow are born from a single act. The night deepens around you, its quiet embrace a soft cradle for dreams. The earth below hums with the footsteps of humanity, their fires flickering like stars fallen to the ground, a gift from Prometheus, the titan who dared to steal from the heavens. On Mount Olympus, the Olympians watch, their divine council alight with both wonder and unease. Zeus, king of the gods, sits at the heart of their celestial court, his gaze like thunderclouds gathering over a restless sea. Prometheus's defiance, gifting fire to mortals, tricking Zeus with the bones of sacrifice, has tipped the delicate balance of the cosmos. The stage is set for a reckoning, a tale of punishment and curiosity, where a single act will unleash both sorrow and hope upon the world. As you lie there, the night's stillness wrapping around you, let this story unfold, its gentle cadence guiding you towards sleep. Prometheus, the fire-bearer, stood unbowed, his heart bound to the mortals he had shaped from clay. To the Greeks, he was a figure of rebellion, a champion whose love for humanity defied the gods' decree. But Zeus, whose rule was forged in the fires of the Titanomachy, could not abide such insolence. From his throne, he devised a punishment as cruel as it was eternal. He commanded Prometheus be bound to a jagged peak in the Caucasus Mountains, his body chained to the unyielding rock. There, an eagle was sent each day to tear at his flesh, devouring his liver, only for it to regrow each night, a cycle of torment without end. Can you picture it? The wind howling across the desolate crag, Prometheus's defiant eyes fixed on the horizon, his resolve unbroken even as the eagle's talons struck. The Greeks saw in his suffering a mirror of their own struggles, endurance in the face of fate's cruelty. Yet Zeus's wrath did not stop with Prometheus. The mortals, thriving with their stolen fire, were to face a consequence of their own. Zeus turned to Hephaestus, the smith god, whose hands could forge wonders from flame and metal. He ordered the creation of a new being, one crafted not from ambition but from divine will. Hephaestus molded clay once more, shaping a figure of breathtaking beauty, a woman whose form was as radiant as the dawn. The gods bestowed upon her their gifts. Athena clothed her in shimmering robes, Aphrodite granted her an allure that captivated all, and Hermes gifted her a silver tongue, swift and beguiling. They named her Pandora, meaning all gifted, and sent her to the mortal world as both a marvel and a mystery. Imagine Pandora stepping onto the earth, her presence like a melody woven into the wind. The mortals, awestruck, welcomed her, unaware of the burden she carried. Zeus, in his cunning, had given her a jar, or, as later Thales would call it, a box, sealed tight, its contents a secret even to her. The Greeks whispered that this vessel held the fates of humanity, a divine riddle locked within. Pandora, with her curious heart, was told never to open it, yet the weight of the unknown tugged at her soul. Can you feel it lying there in the quiet night? The pull of curiosity, like a whisper in the dark, urging you to uncover what lies hidden. Prometheus's brother, Epimetheus, whose name means afterthought, accepted Pandora as his wife, his heart swayed by her beauty. Unlike his brother's foresight, Epimetheus acted without caution, blind to the god's design. The jar stood in their home, its presence a silent challenge. Day after day, Pandora's gaze returned to it, her fingers tracing its sealed edge, her mind alive with questions. What lay within? A gift from the gods or something darker? The Greeks told this story to capture the human spirit, curiosity as both a blessing and a curse, the spark that drives us to seek, even at great cost. One fateful moment, Pandora's resolve faltered. With trembling hands, she lifted the lid, and from the jar poured a torrent of woes, disease, sorrow, strife, and every affliction that would haunt humanity. They swept across the earth like a shadowed wind, their whispers mingling with mortal cries. Can you hear it, the soft wail of a world changed forever? Yet, as Pandora hastened to seal the jar, one final gift remained trapped inside. Hope, fragile and radiant, a light to counter the darkness. The Greeks believed hope was humanity's solace, a star to guide them through the trials unleashed by Pandora's act. Prometheus, chained to his rock, endured his torment, his sacrifice now woven into the fabric of human existence. Pandora's box became a symbol of the delicate balance between curiosity and consequence, a reminder that even in suffering, there is a glimmer of redemption. As you sink deeper into the night, imagine the mortals below, their fires burning bright, their hearts grappling with new sorrows yet clinging to hope. The Greeks told these stories to make sense of their world, to find meaning in the interplay of joy and pain. What must it have been like for Pandora, standing amid the chaos she unleashed, hope's faint glow her only comfort? The night holds this question, its silence a canvas for the next chapter. The gods, watching from Olympus, now turn their gaze to a new hero, one whose strength will be tested by trials that echo the divine. What happens when Heracles, born of mortal and divine, steps into the light, his labors a testament to human endurance? Let the story carry you forward, into a tale of courage and redemption that will cradle you into dreams. The night holds you gently, its stillness a soft veil over the world. The fires of humanity burn below, their light tempered by the sorrows unleashed from Pandora's jar, yet kindled by the fragile glow of hope. On Mount Olympus, the gods watch, their divine council a tapestry of pride, rivalry, and judgment. Zeus, king of the gods, turns his gaze to a new figure, a mortal born of divine blood, whose life will bridge the heavens and the earth. This is the story of Heracles, the greatest of Greek heroes, whose 12 labors would etch his name into the stars. As you lie there, the quiet of the night enfolding you, let this tale of strength, struggle, and redemption draw you deeper, its rhythm a soothing pulse guiding you toward dreams. Heracles, known to the Romans as Hercules, was no ordinary mortal. Born of Zeus and Alcmene, a mortal woman, he carried the spark of divinity in his veins, yet bore the weight of human frailty. The Greeks sang of his birth under a sky alight with omens, a child destined for greatness yet marked by divine strife. Hera, Zeus's queen, burned with jealousy at her husband's infidelity, her wrath a shadow that would haunt Heracles' life. From his cradle she sent serpents to strangle him, but the infant, with strength beyond his years, crushed them in his tiny hands. Can you picture it? A child, barely born, defying the gods' malice, his destiny already woven with trials. The night around you seems to hum with this moment, the air heavy with the promise of a hero's journey. As Heracles grew, his strength became legend. His arms could fell oaks, his courage could face any beast. Yet Hera's enmity persisted, her divine will bending his fate. Driven mad by her curse, Heracles committed a terrible act, slaying his own family in a frenzy he could not control. When sanity returned, his heart broke under the weight of guilt, a burden heavier than any physical trial. Seeking redemption, he journeyed to the Oracle of Delphi, where Apollo's priestess spoke in riddles. To atone, he must serve King Eurystheus of Mycenae and complete 12 impossible labors. Imagine Heracles standing before the oracle's sacred smoke, his broad shoulders bowed, his soul yearning for absolution. The Greeks saw in him their own struggles, strength marred by tragedy, redemption sought through suffering. The first labor was to slay the Nemean lion, a beast with a hide impervious to mortal weapons. Heracles tracked it to its cave, the air thick with the scent of earth and danger. With no blade able to pierce its skin, he wrestled the lion, his arms locking around its throat until its roars fell silent. He returned to Eurystheus cloaked in the lion's pelt, a symbol of his triumph. The second labor was no less daunting. The Lernaean Hydra, a serpent with 9 heads, each regrowing twofold when severed. With his nephew Iolaus by his side, Heracles burned the stumps to halt their regeneration, slaying the beast in a mire of venom and flame. Can you see the battle? The swamp's shadows dancing, Heracles' club raised, his resolve unyielding against a creature born of nightmare. The labors continued, each a test of wit and endurance. He captured the golden-horned Cyrenian hind, sacred to Artemis, without spilling its blood. He trapped the Eurymanthian boar, its tusks gleaming in the moonlight. He cleansed the Augean stables, diverting rivers to wash away decades of filth in a single day. The Stymphalian birds, with their metal feathers and poisonous breath, fell to his arrows, their cries fading into the marshes. The Cretan bull, a creature of Poseidon's wrath, he wrestled to submission, its strength no match for his own. Each task seemed impossible, yet Heracles pressed on, his heart driven by the hope of redemption. The later labors grew ever more perilous. He stole the man-eating mares of Diomedes, taming their savagery. He claimed the girdle of Hippolyta, queen of the Amazons, navigating diplomacy and betrayal. He drove off the cattle of the monster Geryon, journeying to the edge of the world under a blood-red sky. The 11th labor sent him to steal the golden apples of the Hesperides, guarded by a dragon in a garden where twilight reigned. With cunning and strength, he persuaded Atlas, the titan who held the sky, to aid him, bearing the heavens' weight himself for a fleeting moment. Can you feel the strain, the world's burden on his shoulders, his mortal heart beating against divine odds? The final labor was the most harrowing. To descend into the underworld and capture Cerberus, the three-headed hound that guarded Hades' gates. Heracles faced the shadows of death itself, his courage a light in the gloom. With Hades' reluctant consent, he wrestled the beast, dragging it to the surface before returning it unharmed. The Greeks told these tales to honor not just strength but perseverance, the will to face the impossible and emerge changed. Heracles, through his labors, became more than a man, his story a bridge between mortal struggle and divine glory. As you sink deeper into the night, imagine Heracles standing before Eurystheus, his labors complete, his soul cleansed yet scarred. The Greeks saw in him a mirror of humanity's dual nature, flawed yet capable of greatness, bound by fate yet striving for freedom. What must it have been like to carry such burdens, to walk a path laid by gods, yet find redemption in mortal will? The night holds this question, its silence a canvas for the next chapter. What happens when another hero, Odysseus, sets sail on a journey that tests not strength but cunning, his odyssey a tale of longing and survival? Let the story carry you forward, into a sea of trials that will guide you into dreams. The night cradles you in its gentle arms, its silence a soft invitation to drift into dreams. The fires of Heracles' labors still glow in the distance, his trials a testament to mortal strength and divine redemption. But now the story shifts, the earth giving way to the endless sea, where another hero's journey unfolds. Odysseus, king of Ithaca, a man of cunning and heart, sets sail on a voyage that will test not just his body but his soul. His odyssey, woven into the Greek imagination, is a tale of longing, survival, and the relentless pull of home. As you lie there, the quiet of the night, perhaps at 06:21 p.m. in Pakistan or wherever you are, wrapping around you, let the rhythm of waves and the whisper of adventure guide you deeper into this story, a lullaby for the restless heart. Odysseus was no stranger to glory. A hero of the Trojan War, his mind was as sharp as any sword, his strategies turning tides in favor of the Greeks. It was he who devised the wooden horse, a cunning gift that breached Troy's walls and sealed its fate. But victory came at a cost. The gods, ever watchful, took note of his hubris, and Poseidon, lord of the seas, harbored a grudge for the blinding of his son, the Cyclops Polyphemus. As Odysseus set sail for Ithaca, his beloved island home, the sea itself became his adversary, its waves a canvas for divine wrath. Can you hear it? The creak of his ship's timbers, the wind howling with Poseidon's anger, as Odysseus and his men ventured into the unknown. The journey began with promise, the sails full and the crew eager. But fate, like the sea, is fickle. Their first trial came on the island of the Cicons, where a raid turned deadly, costing Odysseus 6 men from each ship. Grief shadowed their sails as they fled, only to be driven by storms to the land of the lotus eaters. There, the sweet fruit dulled his men's minds, luring them into a dreamlike stupor, their desire for home forgotten. Odysseus, with his iron will, dragged them back to the ships, their cries fading into the mist. Imagine him, standing at the helm, his heart torn between duty and the seductive pull of oblivion. The Greeks told this tale to remind us of temptation's power, its lure as dangerous as any storm. Greater perils awaited. On the island of the Cyclops, Odysseus and his men found themselves trapped in the cave of Polyphemus, a one-eyed giant who devoured men like morsels. With cunning born of desperation, Odysseus offered the giant wine, lulling him into sleep. He and his crew drove a sharpened stake into Polyphemus's eye, blinding him, and escaped by clinging to the bellies of his sheep. But as they sailed away, Odysseus's pride betrayed him. He shouted his name to the raging Cyclops, who called upon Poseidon to curse his journey. Can you feel the weight of that moment? The sea churning, the gods' wrath awakened, as Odysseus's voice echoed over the waves, sealing his fate. The journey grew darker still. On the island of Aeolus, keeper of the winds, Odysseus received a bag containing all the tempests, a gift to speed him home. But his crew, driven by greed, opened it, unleashing a storm that hurled them back to sea. Next came the Laestrygonians, cannibal giants who sank all but Odysseus's ship, their stones raining down like divine judgment. The survivors, weary and broken, reached the Isle of Circe, the enchantress. Her spells turned men into beasts, their human forms lost to her magic. Odysseus, aided by Hermes' gift of moly, resisted her charms and won her aid, lingering a year in her halls. Picture it, the golden light of Circe's palace, the temptation to stay, and Odysseus's heart pulling him toward Ithaca. The journey demanded more than courage, it required sacrifice. Circe sent Odysseus to the underworld to seek the prophet Tiresias. There, in the shadowed realm of Hades, he faced the ghosts of his past, his mother, Anticlea, whose death he had not known, and heroes fallen at Troy. Tiresias warned of trials to come, the cattle of the sun god Helios, whose theft would doom his crew. Returning to the living world, Odysseus sailed past the sirens, their song a lure to death. He filled his men's ears with wax and bound himself to the mast, their voices haunting his dreams. Can you hear them, their melodies weaving through the night, calling you to drift yet urging you to stay? The sea offered no respite. Scylla, the six-headed monster, and Charybdis, the devouring whirlpool, claimed more lives, the screams of his men swallowed by the waves. When his crew, driven by hunger, slaughtered Helios's sacred cattle, Zeus's wrath struck, shattering their ship with a thunderbolt. Odysseus alone survived, clinging to wreckage, washing ashore on the island of Calypso, the nymph who loved him. For 7 years, she held him, offering immortality, yet his heart yearned for Ithaca, for his wife Penelope and son Telemachus. Hermes, at Zeus's command, freed him, and Odysseus built a raft, setting sail once more. The Greeks wove this odyssey to mirror the human soul, cunning and frail, defiant yet yearning for home. As you sink deeper into the night, imagine Odysseus on his raft, the stars above his only guide, the sea both foe and cradle. What must it have been like to face such trials, to hold fast to hope when all seemed lost? The night holds this question, its silence a canvas for the next chapter. What happens when love itself becomes a trial, and a poet ventures into the underworld for his beloved? Let the story carry you forward, into the haunting tale of Orpheus and Eurydice, where love and loss intertwine. The night enfolds you, its quiet depths a gentle cradle for your thoughts, as the sea's restless waves from Odysseus's Odyssey fade into memory. The stars above seem to hum with a softer tale now, one of love so profound it defies the boundaries of life and death. In the Greek world, where gods and mortals dance in eternal tension, there emerges a poet whose voice could charm the very stones. This is the story of Orpheus and Eurydice, a love story woven with music, loss, and a descent into the shadows of the underworld. As you lie there, perhaps at 06:22 p.m. in Pakistan or wherever you find yourself, the night's stillness wrapping around you like a melody, let this haunting narrative carry you deeper, its tender rhythm a lullaby for your dreams. Orpheus, son of the muse Calliope and the god Apollo, was no warrior like Heracles or cunning strategist like Odysseus. His gift was his voice, a lyre-strung melody that could soothe wild beasts, make rivers pause, and draw tears from the hardest hearts. The Greeks sang of him as the poet of poets, his music a bridge between the mortal and divine. When he met Eurydice, a nymph of radiant beauty, her laughter danced with his songs, their love a harmony that seemed to echo the cosmos itself. Picture them in a sunlit glade, Orpheus's fingers coaxing notes from his lyre, Eurydice twirling through wildflowers, her eyes alight with joy. Their union was a moment of perfection, a fleeting note in the symphony of existence. But fate, as the Greeks knew, is rarely kind to such beauty. On their wedding day, as Eurydice wandered the meadows, a viper struck, its venom stealing her breath. She fell, her laughter silenced, her body claimed by death's cold embrace. Orpheus's world shattered. His lyre, once vibrant, now wept notes of sorrow. Can you feel it, lying there in the quiet night? The ache of a heart broken, the silence where music once lived. The Greeks told this tale to capture love's fragility, its power to both uplift and devastate. Orpheus, unable to accept her loss, resolved to do the impossible, to descend into the underworld and bring Eurydice back to the light. With his lyre in hand, Orpheus journeyed to the edge of the world, where the river Styx flows dark and silent. There, he faced Charon, the grim ferryman whose oar cuts through the waters of death. Orpheus played a melody so mournful that even Charon's hardened heart softened, granting him passage. The underworld opened before him, a realm of shadows where souls drifted like leaves on a forgotten wind. Cerberus, the three-headed hound, growled at his approach, but Orpheus's music tamed the beast, its heads bowing as if in reverence. Imagine the scene, the poet's notes echoing through the gloom, a single light in a world without sun. Deeper he ventured, past the shades of the dead, their whispers a chorus of longing. At last he stood before Hades and Persephone, rulers of the underworld. Hades, stern and unyielding, sat beside Persephone, whose heart still remembered the warmth of spring. Orpheus played for them, his lyre weaving a song of love and loss so pure that tears fell from Persephone's eyes, and even Hades's gaze softened. The Greeks believed music could move the divine, and here it did. Hades agreed to release Eurydice, but with a condition. Orpheus must ascend to the living world without looking back, trusting that Eurydice followed, until they reached the light. Can you sense the weight of that bargain? The hope mingled with dread, the silence behind him as he stepped forward. Orpheus began the ascent, his lyre silent now, the path steep and shadowed. Each step was a test, the air thick with the presence of his beloved, yet he could not hear her footsteps. The Greeks wove this moment to mirror the human heart's struggle, faith pitted against doubt, love against fear. As the light of the upper world glimmered ahead, Orpheus's heart faltered. Was she truly there? Had the gods deceived him? In a moment of unbearable longing, he turned, his eyes seeking Eurydice's face. There she stood, radiant yet fading, her form dissolving back into the shadows as the underworld claimed her once more. His cry echoed, a note of despair that pierced the silence. Orpheus emerged alone, his lyre now a vessel of grief. He wandered the earth, his songs no longer charming but mourning, a poet broken by love's loss. The Greeks told of his end with somber reverence. Torn apart by Maenads, wild followers of Dionysus, his head and lyre cast into a river, still singing of Eurydice. Even in death, his voice lingered, a testament to love's enduring power. Picture it now, the river carrying his song, the stars above listening, as the night around you hums with the same eternal longing. This tale, the Greeks believed, was not just of Orpheus but of humanity itself. Our capacity to love so deeply that we defy death, yet our frailty in the face of fate. As you sink deeper into the night, imagine Orpheus's final notes, their melody a bridge between worlds. What must it have been like to love so fiercely, to lose so completely, yet to sing on? The night holds this question, its silence a canvas for the next chapter. What happens when the gods themselves turn to vengeance, and the Furies pursue justice through the shadows? Let the story carry you forward, into a tale of retribution and redemption that will guide you into dreams. The night enfolds you, its quiet depths a gentle cradle for your thoughts, as the mournful strains of Orpheus's lyre fade into the river's flow. The stars above pulse with a darker rhythm now, a whisper of justice that stirs the shadows of the Greek world. From the primal blood of Uranus's fall rise the Furies, relentless avengers of crimes against the sacred order. Their eyes burn with unyielding purpose, their wings whip the air like a gathering storm, and their voices hiss with the weight of retribution. This is the story of their wrath, woven through the tale of Orestes, a mortal ensnared in a web of vengeance and redemption. As you lie there, the night's stillness wrapping around you like a soft veil, let this tale of divine justice and human struggle guide you deeper, its steady cadence a lullaby for your dreams. The Furies, or Erinyes, were born from the blood that spilled when Cronus struck Uranus, their forms a manifestation of cosmic outrage. The Greeks named them Alecto, Megira, and Tisiphone, unrelenting, jealous, and avenging, deities who pursued those who broke sacred bonds, especially kinslaying and betrayal. Their hair writhed with serpents, their hands clutched torches and whips, and their presence chilled even the gods. Unlike the Olympians, who ruled from gilded thrones on Mount Olympus, the Furies dwelt in the shadows, emerging when oaths were shattered or blood was spilled unjustly. Can you feel their gaze, piercing through the darkness? The air heavy with the weight of judgment, as if the earth itself holds its breath. The tale of their wrath centers on Orestes, son of Agamemnon, the Greek king who led the war against Troy. Agamemnon's return from that fabled conflict was no joyful homecoming. His wife, Clytemnestra, consumed by grief for her sacrificed daughter Iphigenia and swayed by her lover's ambition, slew him in his bath, her axe a cold answer to his pride. Orestes, young and torn, faced a harrowing choice. Avenge his father by killing his mother, or let the crime go unpunished, defying the gods' law. Guided by Apollo's oracle, he chose vengeance, striking down Clytemnestra and her lover Aegisthus. The act was justice, yet it shattered the sacred bond of mother and son. Picture it, Orestes, his hands stained with blood, standing over his mother's body, his heart a storm of duty and despair. The Furies descended upon him like a shadow swallowing the sun. They haunted his every step, their voices a relentless chorus of accusation, their whips lashing his dreams. Orestes fled, his mind unraveling under their unyielding pursuit. The Greeks saw the Furies as more than punishers. They were the embodiment of guilt, the weight of conscience that no mortal could outrun. Can you hear their cries, echoing through the night? Their serpentine hair hissing, their torches casting a blood-red glow as they chased Orestes across the rugged hills and sacred groves of Greece. His only hope lay in seeking divine intervention, a trial to balance justice with mercy. Orestes reached the sanctuary of Apollo at Delphi, where the god who had urged his vengeance now offered refuge. Apollo, with his lyre's clarity, sent him to Athens, to the court of Athena, goddess of wisdom. There, on the Areopagus, the hill of Ares, Orestes stood trial before gods and mortals. The Furies argued for retribution, their voices sharp with the pain of broken bonds. Apollo defended Orestes, claiming the murder was just, commanded by divine will. Athena, her allied gaze steady, listened to both sides, her wisdom a beacon in the chaos. Imagine the scene. The hill bathed in twilight, Orestes trembling, the Furies looming, and Athena's presence a calm amidst the storm. The trial marked a turning point, not just for Orestes, but for the Greek understanding of justice. Athena cast the deciding vote, sparing Orestes, declaring that mercy could temper vengeance without negating it. The Furies, though fierce, accepted her judgment, their wrath softened by her promise of a new role. They would become the Eumenides, the kindly ones, guardians of justice rather than mere avengers. Temples would rise in their honor, their torches lighting the way for a balanced order. Can you see it? The Furies, once feared, now revered, their serpents stilled, their eyes turned toward a new purpose. Orestes, freed from his torment, wandered into myth, his fate a testament to the delicate dance of justice and forgiveness. The Greeks told this story to grapple with their own moral questions, how to honor the past without being consumed by it, how to balance retribution with redemption. The Furies, born of blood, became symbols of the conscience that binds us all, their wrath a reminder that actions ripple through the cosmos. As you breathe slowly, sinking into the night, imagine Orestes standing on the Areopagus, the weight of his guilt lifted, the Furies' cries fading into a hymn of peace. This tale, like the night around you, holds a quiet power. The Greeks wove it to reflect the human struggle with guilt, duty, and the hope of absolution. What must it have been like for Orestes to face the Furies' wrath and find mercy in their shadow? The night holds this question, its silence a canvas for the next chapter. What happens when the gods' voices speak through mortals, and the Oracle of Delphi shapes the fate of a civilization? Let the story carry you forward, into a tale of prophecy and power that will guide you into dreams. The night enfolds you in its tranquil embrace, its silence a soft tapestry woven with the echoes of Orestes' trial, where the Furies' wrath gave way to mercy's light. The Greek world, alive with gods and heroes, now turns its gaze to a sacred place where the divine speaks through mortal lips. High on the slopes of Mount Parnassus, where the air hums with mystery, lies Delphi, home of the oracle, the voice of Apollo himself. Here, in a sanctuary carved from stone and starlight, mortals seek answers to questions that shape empires and souls. This is the story of the Oracle of Delphi, a beacon of prophecy that guided the Greeks through the mists of fate. As you lie there, the night's stillness wrapping around you like a whispered truth, let this tale of divine insight and human longing draw you deeper, its gentle rhythm a lullaby for your dreams. Delphi was no mere temple, but a sacred heart of the Greek world, its slopes fragrant with laurel and alive with the hum of the divine. The Greeks believed it to be the center of the earth, marked by the omphalos, a stone said to have fallen from the heavens. Here, Apollo, god of prophecy, music, and light, claimed his sanctuary after slaying the serpent Python, its bones buried beneath the temple's stones. The oracle, a priestess known as the Pythia, served as his voice, her words a bridge between mortal and divine. Picture the scene, the temple's marble columns gleaming under the sun, pilgrims climbing the sacred way, their hearts heavy with questions only a god could answer. The Pythia was no ordinary woman. Chosen from the women of Delphi, she sat upon a tripod in the temple's Aditon, a chamber wreathed in the vapors of a sacred spring. Some say she chewed laurel leaves or inhaled the earth's breath, her mind lifted to a state where Apollo's will could flow through her. Her words, often cryptic, were riddles that carried the weight of fate. Kings, warriors, and common folk alike sought her counsel, their offerings of gold and grain piling high at Apollo's altar. Can you feel it? The anticipation in the air, the pilgrims' whispered prayers as they awaited the Pythia's voice, a thread of divine truth in a world of uncertainty. The oracle's influence stretched across the Greek world, shaping destinies with a single phrase. When Croesus, king of Lydia, asked if he should wage war against Persia, the Pythia declared that a great empire would fall. Emboldened, he attacked, only to see his own kingdom crumble, learning too late the ambiguity of divine words. When Athens faced the Persian invasion, the oracle spoke of a wooden wall that would save them. Themistocles, with his sharp mind, saw ships in her words, leading Athens to victory at Salamis. The Greeks revered the oracle not for clarity, but for the challenge of her riddles, forcing mortals to wrestle with their own fates. Yet Delphi was more than a place of prophecy. It was a stage for the gods' will. Apollo's light shone through the Pythia, but other deities lingered in the shadows. Dionysus, god of wine and ecstasy, shared the sanctuary in winter. His wild writes a counterpoint to Apollo's order. The earth goddess Gaia, some say, once held sway here, her ancient power echoing in the Pythia's trance. The temple was a crossroads of divine forces, a place where the cosmos spoke to those bold enough to listen. Imagine standing before the temple, the air thick with incense, the Pythia's voice rising like a melody from the earth itself. The oracle's words shaped not just individuals, but entire cities. When colonists sought new lands, they turned to Delphi for guidance, her prophecies founding cities from Cyrene to Byzantium. When Oedipus, unaware of his cursed lineage, sought answers, the oracle's warning of patricide and incest set his tragic path in motion. The Greeks wove these stories to show that fate was not a straight path but a labyrinth, where divine insight and human choice intertwined. Can you sense it, lying there in the quiet night? The weight of a question asked, the tremor of a truth revealed, as the Pythia's words echo across time. Delphi was not without its shadows. Priests interpreted the Pythia's cryptic utterances, their influence sometimes swayed by gold or politics. Yet the Greeks believed the oracle's power transcended mortal flaws, her voice a direct line to Apollo's wisdom. Pilgrims came not just for answers but for hope, for a glimpse of the divine order that governed their world. The sanctuary, with its festivals, games, and sacred treasures, was a beacon of unity, drawing Greeks from every corner to honor the gods and seek their favor. As you sink deeper into the night, imagine the pilgrims' procession, their footsteps echoing on the sacred way, their hearts alight with the promise of truth. The Oracle of Delphi was more than a voice. It was a mirror of the Greek soul, reflecting their fears, hopes, and the eternal quest for meaning. What must it have been like to stand before the Pythia, to hear the god's will in her trembling words, knowing your fate hung in the balance? The night holds this question, its silence a canvas for the next chapter. What happens when the gods themselves spark a war that shakes the world, and the Trojan War unfolds in all its glory and tragedy? Let the story carry you forward, into a tale of divine conflict and human sacrifice that will guide you into dreams. The night holds you in its gentle embrace, its silence a soft echo of the oracle's cryptic whispers, fading into the mists of Delphi. The Greek world, alive with the interplay of gods and mortals, now turns to a tale that would echo through the ages, a war that shook the foundations of both earth and heaven. Across the shimmering Aegean, on the shores of Troy, a city of towering walls and proud hearts, a spark of divine discord ignites a conflict that would birth heroes and tragedies. This is the story of the Trojan War, a saga woven from love, betrayal, and the meddling hands of the gods. As you lie there, the night's stillness wrapping around you like a woven tapestry, let this epic narrative draw you deeper, its rhythmic cadence a lullaby for your dreams. The war's origins lie in a moment of divine vanity, a single act that rippled across the cosmos. At a feast on Mount Olympus, Eris, the goddess of discord, cast a golden apple inscribed with the words "to the fairest among the goddesses." Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite each claimed the prize, their rivalry a storm that Zeus, wary of choosing, refused to quell. Instead, he sent them to Paris, a prince of Troy, to judge. Each goddess tempted him. Hera with power, Athena with wisdom, and Aphrodite with the love of the world's most beautiful woman, Helen, wife of Menelaus, king of Sparta. Paris, swayed by desire, chose Aphrodite, and with her promise he sailed to Sparta, where Helen's beauty captivated him. Can you see it? The golden apple gleaming, the goddess's eyes flashing, as Paris's choice sets fate in motion. Helen's departure with Paris, whether by love or abduction, ignited a fire that no mortal could extinguish. Menelaus, wronged and raging, called upon the Greek kings bound by an oath to defend his honor. Agamemnon, his brother, led the coalition, summoning heroes like Achilles, whose strength was unmatched, Odysseus, whose cunning was unrivaled, and Ajax, a tower of might. 1,000 ships sailed for Troy, their sails dark against the horizon, their purpose a blend of vengeance and glory. The Greeks believed this war was not just mortal but divine, with gods taking sides like players in a cosmic game. Aphrodite and Apollo stood with Troy, while Hera, Athena, and Poseidon favored the Greeks. Imagine the scene. The Trojan plain stretched before the city's walls, the air thick with the clash of bronze and the gods' unseen hands. The war raged for 10 years, a tapestry of valor and tragedy. Achilles, swift and invincible, felled countless Trojans, his wrath a force like the gods themselves. Yet his pride led to strife with Agamemnon, who seized Achilles' prize, the maiden Briseis. Achilles withdrew, his absence a shadow over the Greek cause. Meanwhile, Hector, Troy's noble prince, stood as the city's shield, his courage a beacon for his people. The gods meddled relentlessly. Athena tricked Hector into facing Achilles alone, and Apollo guided Paris's arrow to Achilles' vulnerable heel, felling the hero. Can you hear it? The clash of spears, the cries of the fallen, as the gods' laughter and wrath echo above the battlefield. The turning point came with Odysseus's cunning. After years of stalemate, he devised the Trojan horse, a massive wooden offering filled with Greek warriors. The Trojans, believing it a gift of surrender, brought it within their walls, unaware of the danger hidden inside. Under cover of night, the Greeks emerged, opening the gates to their army. Troy burned, its towers crumbling, its people slain or enslaved. Priam, the aged king, fell at his altar. Hector's son, Astyanax, was cast from the walls. And Cassandra, the prophetess cursed to never be believed, was taken as a prize. Picture the flames rising, the city's heart breaking. As the gods watched in silence, their game played to its bitter end. The Greeks wove this tale to reflect the cost of pride, love, and divine caprice. The Trojan War was not just a conflict of men, but a mirror of the gods' own rivalries, their whims shaping mortal fates. Helen, the face that launched 1,000 ships, became a symbol of beauty's power and peril. The heroes, from Achilles' rage to Odysseus' wit, embodied the human struggle for glory in a world governed by fate. As you breathe slowly, sinking into the night, imagine the Trojan plain, its dust settled, its fires fading, yet its stories enduring in the songs of poets. The war's end was not the end of its echoes. The Greeks, victorious but scarred, faced their own trials returning home, while Troy's survivors carried their grief into exile. The gods, their sport concluded, turned their gaze to new dramas, leaving mortals to grapple with the wreckage. What must it have been like to stand amid Troy's ruins, to see a city's glory reduced to ash, yet know its tale would live forever? The night holds this question, its silence a canvas for the next chapter. What happens when Troy's remnants scatter, and a new journey begins with Aeneas, carrying the seeds of a future empire? Let the story carry you forward, into a tale of loss and legacy that will guide you into dreams. The night enfolds you in its velvet stillness, its quiet depths a soft echo of the fading cries of Troy, where flames have consumed a city's pride and left only ashes in their wake. The Trojan War, a clash of mortal valor and divine caprice, has ended, its heroes scattered, its walls crumbled under the weight of the gods' game. The plain before Troy lies silent now, the air heavy with the scent of smoke and sorrow. Yet from this ruin rises a new story, one of survival, exile, and the seeds of a future empire. This is the tale of Troy's fall and the journeys of its survivors, particularly Aeneas, whose path would carry the embers of a lost city toward a new destiny. As you lie there, the night's gentle embrace wrapping around you, let this narrative of loss and legacy draw you deeper, its soothing rhythm a lullaby for your dreams. The fall of Troy was a wound in the Greek imagination, a moment where triumph and tragedy intertwined. The Trojan horse, Odysseus's cunning gift, had breached the city's walls, unleashing a night of slaughter. Priam, the aged king, fell at Zeus's altar, his blood staining the sacred stones. Hector's widow, Andromache, was taken as a captive, her son Astyanax cast from the ramparts to end the Trojan line. Cassandra, the prophetess whose warnings went unheeded, was claimed by Agamemnon, her visions now a burden in exile. Picture it, the city ablaze, its towers collapsing, the cries of its people rising like a mournful hymn to the stars. The Greeks, victorious, loaded their ships with spoils, but the gods, ever watchful, ensured their victory was bittersweet. The return home was no simple journey. The gods, divided by the war, turned their wrath on the Greek heroes. Agamemnon, king of Mycenae, met his doom at the hands of his wife Clytemnestra, her axe a cold reckoning for his sins. Menelaus, reunited with Helen, wandered the seas for years, their love tainted by the blood it had spilled. Odysseus, as we know, faced a decade of trials, his cunning tested by monsters and divine wrath. The Greeks wove these stories to show that victory carries a price, that the gods' favor is as fickle as the wind. Can you feel it? The weight of triumph shadowed by loss, the sea stretching endlessly before the weary victors. Yet the story of Troy's survivors burns brightest in Aeneas, a Trojan prince and son of Aphrodite, whose courage and piety set him apart. As Troy fell, Aeneas fought bravely, but the gods had other plans. Aphrodite, his divine mother, urged him to flee, to carry his father Anchises, his son Ascanius, and the sacred relics of Troy to safety. Picture him now, staggering through the burning city, his aged father on his shoulders, his son's hand in his, the Palladium, a sacred statue of Athena, clutched tightly. The flames parted before him, guided by divine will, as he led a band of survivors to the sea. The Greeks saw Aeneas as a bridge between ruin and renewal, a hero whose journey would plant the seeds of a new legacy. Aeneas's voyage was no less perilous than Odysseus's. Storms, sent by Juno, Hera's Roman counterpart, who harbored a grudge against Trojans, drove his ships across the Mediterranean. He landed in Carthage, where Queen Dido welcomed him, her heart stirred by his tale and Aphrodite's charm. Their love blossomed, a moment of warmth in his exile, but the gods, through Mercury, commanded him to leave, his destiny lying beyond the horizon. Dido, heartbroken, cursed his line as he sailed away, her pyre's flames a mirror of Troy's fall. Can you see it? The sea glittering under the stars, Aeneas's ship cutting through the waves, his heart torn between love and duty. His journey led him to Italy, guided by prophecies from Apollo and the ghost of Anchises. The Sibyl of Cumae, a seer like the Delphic oracle, led him to the underworld, where he saw the shades of the past and the promise of a future empire. There Anchises revealed Aeneas's fate, to found a new Troy, a city that would one day birth Rome, its legacy outshining even Greece. Aeneas emerged, his resolve hardened, and fought to claim Latium, battling the native king Turnus in a war that echoed Troy's own. His victory, sealed by marriage to Lavinia, daughter of the Latin king, laid the foundations for Rome, the eternal city. Imagine the moment, Aeneas standing on Italian soil, the ghosts of Troy behind him, the future stretching before him like a dawn. The Greeks, and later the Romans, told Aeneas's story to celebrate resilience, the idea that from loss could rise greatness. Troy's fall was not an end but a beginning, its embers carried across the sea to kindle a new flame. The gods, for all their meddling, could not extinguish the human spirit's drive to endure. As you sink deeper into the night, picture Aeneas's ships fading into the horizon, their sails catching the wind of destiny. What must it have been like to carry a city's soul into exile, to build anew amid the ashes of the past? The night holds this question, its silence a canvas for the next chapter. The tales of Troy and its survivors would echo beyond the Greek world, shaping art, poetry, and the dreams of civilizations to come. What happens when these myths weave into the fabric of history, their lessons enduring in the human heart? Let the story carry you forward, into a reflection on the legacy of Greek mythology that will guide you into dreams. The night wraps you in its gentle embrace, its stillness a soft echo of Aeneas's ships fading into the horizon, carrying the embers of Troy toward a new dawn. The tales of gods, heroes, and mortals, of chaos's void, the Titans' fall, Heracles' labors, Odysseus' wanderings, and Troy's ruin, have woven a tapestry that stretches across the ages. These stories, born in the firelit gatherings of ancient Greece, are more than myths. They are the heartbeat of a civilization, a mirror of the human soul. As we near the end of this journey, we turn to the legacy of Greek mythology, its enduring power to shape art, thought, and dreams. As you lie there, the night's quiet folding around you like a starlit cloak, let this reflection on the timeless tales draw you deeper, its soothing cadence a lullaby for your dreams. The Greeks did not see their myths as mere stories, but as truths that explained the world's mysteries. Why the sun rises, why love wounds, why fate both lifts and breaks us. These tales, sung by poets like Homer and Hesiod, were etched into the very fabric of their culture. In their temples, they carved the gods' likenesses in marble, their forms immortalized in serene beauty. In their theaters, they staged tragedies like those of Oedipus and Orestes, where mortals grappled with divine will. In their philosophy, thinkers like Plato and Socrates wove myths into their teachings, using stories to probe the nature of justice, love, and the soul. Can you picture it? A Greek agora alive with voices, each story a thread binding the community to its past and its gods. This legacy did not end with Greece. When Rome rose, it embraced these myths, renaming the gods, Zeus became Jupiter, Athena became Minerva, but keeping their essence. Aeneas's journey, as told by the Roman poet Virgil, became a cornerstone of Rome's identity, a story of destiny that justified its empire. The Renaissance, centuries later, saw artists like Botticelli paint Aphrodite's birth from the sea, her form glowing with divine grace. Sculptors like Michelangelo drew on the myth's heroic forms, their works echoing Heracles' strength and Apollo's radiance. Even today, the names of Greek gods adorn our skies: Venus, Mars, Jupiter, while their stories inspire our literature, films, and dreams. Imagine walking through a museum, the marble statues gazing down, their stories whispering across millennia. The myth's power lies in their universality. The Greeks crafted tales that spoke to the human condition. Prometheus's defiance reflects our hunger for knowledge, Orpheus's loss our ache for love, the Trojan War our struggle with pride and consequence. These stories were not just for the Greeks, but for all who grapple with life's mysteries. Philosophers used them to question morality, poets used them to explore emotion, and common folk used them to find meaning in the stars. As you breathe slowly, sinking into the night, consider how these tales live in you, perhaps in the way you seek wisdom, love fiercely, or face your own trials. The myths also shaped the Greek understanding of the divine. Unlike distant deities, their gods were flawed, passionate, and human-like, their stories a way to make sense of a chaotic world. Zeus's thunderbolts explained the storm, Demeter's grief the barren winter. Yet these gods were not just explanations but companions, their presence felt in every harvest, every war, every heartbreak. The Oracle of Delphi, with its cryptic wisdom, taught the Greeks to seek truth within themselves, to navigate fate with courage. Can you feel it? The gods' voices lingering in the night, their stories a bridge between the mortal and the eternal. This legacy endures in our language and culture. Words like tantalize from Tantalus's punishment, narcissism from Narcissus's vanity, and Odyssey from Odysseus's journey trace their roots to these myths. Our theaters echo with retellings of Medea's rage or Icarus's fall. Our films draw on the hero's journey, from Achilles' wrath to modern tales of sacrifice and redemption. Even our dreams, as we drift toward sleep, carry the echoes of these stories. Perhaps a hero facing a monster, a lover defying death, or a god shaping fate. The Greeks gave us a language to dream, a way to see ourselves in the cosmos. As you lie there, the night soft around you, imagine the poets of old, their voices rising in the firelight, weaving tales that would outlast empires. The legacy of Greek mythology is not just in its stories, but in its invitation to wonder, to question, to feel. It asks us to look at the stars and see gods, to face our trials and find heroism, to love and know loss. What must it have been like to live in a world where every wind carried a god's breath, every story a divine truth? The night holds this question, its silence a canvas for the final chapter. The tales of Greek mythology are a lullaby for the soul, a reminder that we, like the heroes of old, are part of a larger story. As we prepare to close this journey, what happens when we let these myths guide us into dreams, where gods and heroes walk beside us? Let the story carry you forward, into a final reflection that will cradle you into the arms of sleep. The night enfolds you in its tender embrace, its silence a soft echo of the myths that have carried us through the ages. From the formless void of chaos to the burning ruins of Troy, from the defiant spark of Prometheus to the enduring legacy of Aeneas. The stories of Greek mythology, woven by poets in the glow of ancient fires, have painted a world where gods and mortals dance in eternal interplay, their triumphs and tragedies a mirror of our own hearts. Now, as we reach the end of this journey, we pause to reflect, to let these tales cradle you into the arms of sleep. This is a final lullaby, a meditation on the timeless power of these myths, a gentle invitation to dream with the gods. As you lie there, the night's stillness wrapping around you like a starlit veil, let this closing narrative guide you deeper, its soothing rhythm a melody for your dreams. These myths are more than stories. They are the breath of a civilization, the dreams of a people who looked to the heavens and saw their own reflection. The Greeks crafted tales that spoke to the eternal questions. Why do we suffer? Why do we love? Why do we strive against fate? In chaos, they saw the mystery of beginnings. In the Titan's fall, the cost of ambition. In Heracles' labors, the strength to endure. Odysseus' odyssey taught them cunning. Orpheus' loss, the depth of love. And the Trojan War, the price of pride. Each story, like a note in a cosmic symphony, resonates with the human spirit, inviting us to find meaning in our own journeys. Can you feel it? The weight of these tales, heavy with truth, yet light as a whisper in the night. Imagine yourself standing on a Greek hillside, the air warm with the scent of olive groves, the stars above blazing with the stories of gods and heroes. The Greeks believed these tales were alive, their gods ever present in the rustle of leaves, the crash of waves, the flicker of a hearth's flame. Zeus's thunder rolled through their storms, Athena's wisdom guided their counsels, and Aphrodite's touch stirred their hearts. These myths were not distant legends, but companions, shaping their art, their laws, their dreams. In the Parthenon's friezes, they carved Athena's birth. In their tragedies, they mourned Oedipus's fate. In their poetry, they sang of Orpheus's lyre. As you breathe slowly, sinking into the night, picture these stories woven into the very fabric of the world, their threads connecting you to the past. This final lullaby is an invitation to carry these myths into your dreams. Close your eyes and see Prometheus, his fire a beacon of defiance, lighting the way for humanity's hopes. Hear Orpheus's lyre, its notes a tender lament for love lost, yet enduring. Feel the weight of Aeneas's journey, his steps heavy with Troy's ashes, yet lifted by the promise of a new dawn. These stories are not bound by time. They live in the questions we ask, the loves we cherish, the trials we face. The Greeks gave us a language to dream, a way to see ourselves in the cosmos, to find heroism in our struggles and divinity in our hearts. Can you sense it? The gods walking beside you, their voices a soft hum in the night, guiding you towards sleep. As you drift closer to dreams, imagine the gods gathering on Mount Olympus, their council a blend of laughter and solemnity. Zeus, with his storm-filled gaze, watches over the world. Hera, proud and fierce, guards its bonds. Apollo, radiant and wise, strums a melody that echoes through the stars. They are not distant rulers, but companions in the human story, their flaws and passions a reflection of our own. The Greeks told these tales to remind us that we are part of something greater, that our lives, like theirs, are woven into the tapestry of the cosmos. Picture the night sky above you, each star a story, each constellation a hero or god, their light a gentle guide into the realm of dreams. This journey through Greek mythology has been a voyage through the heart of humanity, its courage, its sorrow, its unyielding hope. As you lie there, the night soft around you, let these stories become a lullaby, their rhythm carrying you into a world where gods and mortals meet. Dream of Heracles' strength, of Odysseus' cunning, of Orpheus' love, and let them guide you through the shadows. The Greeks believed that dreams were a gift from Morpheus, the god who shapes visions in the night. What dreams will he weave for you, inspired by these ancient tales? What heroes or gods will walk beside you as you sleep? The night holds this question, its silence a canvas for your own story. The myths of Greece are not just relics of the past but living echoes, their lessons whispering through the ages. As you surrender to sleep, let the gods' voices fade into a gentle hum, their stories a soft current carrying you into dreams. What must it have been like to live in a world where every tale was a star, every dream a divine encounter? Let this final reflection linger, a tender farewell to our journey. Sleep now, cradled by the myths, and let the gods watch over you, their light a beacon in the night, guiding you into a dreamscape where their stories live on. As the gods fade into the starlit night, and their stories cradle you toward dreams, I invite you to become part of our storytelling journey. If these tales of Greek mythology have woven their magic around you, please hit that subscribe button and tap the bell icon to join our community of dreamers and history lovers. Your support keeps these ancient stories alive, bringing new myths to light for all who seek their wonder. In the comments below, share which hero or god captured your heart tonight. Was it Prometheus's defiant spark, Orpheus's haunting melody, or perhaps Aeneas's enduring hope? What myth would you love to hear next? Your thoughts weave our next tale, so let's create this tapestry together. For more therapeutic journeys through history, Check out our playlist of bedtime stories linked below, and consider liking this video to help others find their way to these timeless myths. Thank you for joining me, Sherry, on this voyage through the Greek cosmos. Until our next tale, may your dreams be filled with the light of Olympus. Good night and sweet dreams.